conversation on this later on the stock exchange from the trading floor. He'll be talking to us on the equity side. A very interesting talking stocks with Adedayo. Two big news we had from two of the listed companies, from Oando Nigeria PLC, which is the gas supply deal with NLNG. Then, of course, we had earlier. Before that, Seplat Petroleum preparing for the $350 million takeover of Eland Oil and Gas PLC, which is a total cash transaction. That came in on Friday. The company says it will put that money on the table this month, and do the cash, I will not be doing any borrowing to do that transaction. That's two big stories Adedayo Bakare will be talking to us about. But the big story on Friday was the Central Bank of Nigeria, which says it's moving to get Nigeria's BVN, one of the best in the world, to work for everyone, and will continue to work on this. But the biggest headache for the banks right now, according to the regulator, which is the Central Bank, is cyber risk, which is fraud, which is increasing by speed, by volume and value. The total figure is heading towards 20 billion naira. Let's take a listen to Godwin Emefiele, who briefed the media after their two-day meeting in Ogun State over the weekend. Take a listen.
Yeah, we decided to take on the topic on delivering inclusive growth through digital finance for the Nigerian economy. And in opening this session, we x-rayed activities in 2019, especially the Bankers Committee's initiative to help develop the creative industry and support for the export facilitation in Nigeria. Both issues were aimed at job creation to the youth and to Nigerians, and also an attempt to rediscovering Nigeria's export potentials so that we can support accelerating non-oil export revenues for our country. On the Creative Industry Initiative, the Bankers Committee appreciated the presidential gesture by President Muhammadu Buhari in the course of the year, approving the improvement and the redevelopment of the National Arts Theatre and the development of what we call a creative village or a creative industry hub, first in Lagos, and I think after this we will go to Kano, and then after that maybe one either in Port Harcourt or in Enugu. Bankers Committee appreciated that gesture and thanks the President for that. If you all recall, I think during the budget presentation or during the Independence Anniversary presentation of Mr. President, he had committed that in the next 10 years, right, 100 million jobs have to be created, which is an average of 10 million jobs per year. And our own contribution from the Bankers Committee side, or from the banking industry, is that we do know that there are so many, I use the word unemployed youths, not just only in different parts of the country, people who come out of school, who have certain skills that they are unable to put those skills to use, and as a result are unemployed. And we thought that one way is to unleash the creative talents of our youths to ensure that they're able to create jobs, not only for themselves, but also for others. And these hubs that we agreed to create will be in the area of fashion, like you already know, in the area of the music industry, in the area of the IT, where we're going to have people who are going to be taking on artificial intelligence, design of softwares and sale of software, because like some of you probably know, there are young Nigerians today in different parts of the country, particularly I understand a group in Yaba, in a hub in Yaba, that deals in the development of software that is sold abroad. These are young people who have these creative talents and these innate skills that we think we need to do more of this so as to earn revenues, not only for themselves, because some of them are earning foreign exchange, and we do think that there are more opportunities for more and more foreign exchange to be earned through this avenue, so as to shore up Nigeria's GDP and also improve our export earnings. So the IT is there, and also the Nollywood is also there. So what does that mean? That aside from the redevelopment of the National Art Theatre, that 4 hubs will be built around the National Art Theatre. It will be developed and funded by the Bankers Committee. Bankers Committee itself has its own fund that it has set aside, and this is running into billions, at least nothing less than 20 billion is going to be spent to carry out not only the maintenance but the development of the hub, and also get develop interest. And I keep talking about the fact that Nigerians travel abroad to attend international conferences, but Nigeria has never been able to hold any world-class international conference since after the Festac 77. And we think that we need to rediscover Nigeria again by ensuring that National Arts Theatre is a major national asset that needs to be redeveloped again, develop also creative hubs where jobs can be created for thousands and possibly millions of our youths, so as to unleash their skills on Nigeria, and so the world can know Nigeria has a facility like that. I'm told the national, like some of you know, National Arts Theatre can seat minimum of 5,000 to 7,500 people in the main bowl. It's a first-class facility that was developed for the Festac 77 and other events, but unfortunately, the facility has been run down, and the Bankers Committee, in its own effort towards seeing to making sure that some of these facilities come alive again, took on the responsibility to redevelop the theater, and also build a hub where there will be massive activity, such that even after any event, there will be activities around that National Theatre that will continue to create opportunities for people to come around and undertake different business and economic activity that will help not only grow the economy of Lagos, but also grow Nigerian economy by extension. So the Bankers Committee received presentations from the project consultants that we found, and thoroughly reviewed their project numbers and the details. Bankers Committee thereafter set up a governance and trustee committee to oversee the process that will lead to the award of contracts for the bid winners, because it will be going through a competitive bid process, the bid winners for jobs, and that the jobs for the commencement of this renovation work of the National Arts Theatre, as well as the building and development of the creative hubs around the National Theatre, must start by January 2020. On the area of the export facilitation, the Bankers Committee noted the delay in the preparation of a framework that will guide the export facilitation project, and urge the Central Bank of Nigeria and the ad hoc committee to ensure that relevant framework is released soonest, so that this will guide the banks in granting export facilities through some of our intervention products to people who have products that they want to export, and then so that we can also help to boost our FX earnings for the country. And on the theme of the day, which was on delivering inclusive growth through digital finance, the Bankers Committee took a review of the financial inclusion, the status of financial inclusion in Nigeria. It also held discussions around diversifying the Nigerian economy through digital finance, and we also took on certain case studies, particularly the case of how financial inclusion has been deepened quite tremendously in a country like China. It also discussed the subject of cybersecurity in Nigeria. On this subject of cybersecurity, participants observed that deposit money banks in Nigeria, they have so far been able to display a strong grasp of risks in their system. I mean, other credit, whether it is credit risk, whether it is operational risk, market risk, and other forms of risk in their operations, that they've been able to have some massive grasp of this risk. However, cyber risk is one risk that deposit money banks now need to consider how to manage and control, because lack of capacity to manage and control cyber risks have been resulting in incidents of loss, not only loss of monies, loss of funds, not only to the bank customers, but also indeed to the banks themselves. So the committee therefore noted that deposit money banks must develop and invest massively in tools, both soft and hardware, that will stem cyber attacks on their operations so as to reduce to the barest minimum loss of resources in the banking industry, not just again to the bank, but also to bank customers. The committee agreed to put in place measures such as panic alerts to protect not only the deposit money banks from cyber attacks, but also protect depositors' funds that are in the custody of the banks. The banks concluded this segment by committing that Nigeria's cyber space must be safe and conducive to promoting the digital economy that Nigeria truly deserves. There are a couple of things, but after some time, we broke into sessions where topics bordering on the cyber security, the preliminary opportunities and definition. We looked at issues on a breakout session basis on this. We look at the issues bordering on optimization of taxation through the digital economy, because at some point discussions of a panel came on and said that what we find, unfortunately, is that there are lots of opportunities for the Nigerian government to raise its revenue, even through taxation, but there are a few anomalies that we find in the system. Like, for instance, you could have an arrangement where tax of, say, is imposed on you of an amount, but what you truly get to pay into government coffers is less, and in some cases substantially lower than government should actually receive, or than what amount has been initially estimated that the tax should be. And of course, we all know some of the things that happen when these kind of issues arise. And so we decided that there will be, we thought that in advising the fiscal, that there's a need for us to think of how to digitize the tax collection system, where it will be minimal cash. Everything must go through an electronic system where you can even sit in your house and pay your taxes. You don't have to see anybody, you don't have to talk to anybody. Those are the kind of innovations that the world is embracing, and there's a need for Nigeria to also move in that direction. We also looked at issues bordering on delivering inclusive growth through digital finance, and the group took a deep dive into the various issues, what are some of the opportunities. There are a lot of opportunities there, and that we decided that we will take a look at it, and they will also form part of the major issues that we'll be looking at going forward. Another breakout session discussed the issue of the BVN. BVN, as it is today, I think we have close to about 40 million people on the BVN platform. And I would think that because of the benefits of the BVN today to bank customers and indeed to the economy, that there's a need to consider we'll use the word, moving BVN to what is called BVN 2.0. What does that entail? It entails, for instance, reclassify and segregate transactions that can be held by BVN. Say, for instance, you will have two classifications. The existing BVN that we have in the system has almost, I understand, close almost about 18 lines of information that is provided. We could call those, and where your prints and pictures have been taken to ensure that all financial transactions that you conduct are all within the banking system. We decided that we will classify that as what is called BVN Classic, BVN Premium. But that there should also be a system where There are people who are today financially excluded, but that can now be financially included. And here we're talking about maybe creating another segment called BVN Lite, where just minimal information about that person is held. BVN Lite could be migrating, some of the information on the telephones, the name and telephone numbers of people into a BVN Lite arrangement. So what does that mean? That if you are classified a BVN Lite, yes, there's a limit to the kind of transactions you can conduct in the banking system, maybe in terms of deposits and also in terms of loans and the rest of them. But the important thing is that we want to make sure that you are financially included. The data about you is in the banking or in the financial system, where you can conduct what we can call basic banking service. And like our brethren in our local communities who have a telephone, we think that by being allocated a BVN Lite number, with that they are automatically migrated into the banking system, and they should be able to conduct banking services and the rest of them. Some of our brethren that are also doing our Anchor Bra program, or even on the social investment program, where we even want to distribute cash to some of the underserved, we can use the BVN Lite as an arrangement to put this in place so that everybody is financially included in the Nigerian financial system and can conduct transactions, banking transactions, financial transactions. Then what is important is that we can have a view of the total number of people that are financially included in the Nigerian financial system. So those are some of the major issues that we discussed, and I think participants were very, very delighted, and I think they all look forward to executing some of the issues that have come out of our breakout session, and then ensuring that we meet again sometime next year, take a look at what we have done, and be able to pass, give ourselves a pass mark about what we are doing and the rest of them. The more important is that we keep saying the banking industry remains committed to the fact that we must play our own role towards catalyzing the Nigerian economy. We must remain strong participants that will help to create jobs by virtue of the responsibilities that have been imposed on us as financial catalysts in the Nigerian economy, and that we will play that role. And we thought we should seize the opportunity to highlight some of these issues.